Well, good morning, all members. Good morning. All members will please come to the floor of the House. We need to hear from the third branch of government today. So we'll get this started. We can stay on time. Mr. Clerk, will you ring the bell? All members, if you're close by, you need to come to the floor. We're going to have the morning roll call. All members, please come to the floor so you can register your attendance. We're going to have the morning roll call. All members present will please vote green to signify their presence in the chamber. And Mr. Clerk, will you unlock the machines?
See this? It's running out of the chamber before the chamber. It's been the last 2 days.
All members voted. All members voted. All members voted. If so, Mr. Clerk, will you lock? Got in just under the wire. All members voted their presence. I think all members there have voted. All members come to the seats. Mr. Clerk, will you lock the machines? Doorkeepers, will you close the doors? Keep them closed. As is our custom here in the House, we will begin our day with scripture reading and prayer by our chaplain, after which we will pledge allegiance to the flag of our country. Our chaplain this morning will be introduced by the gentleman from the 172nd House District, Representative Chaz Cannon. Representative Cannon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning. I have the honor and pleasure this morning of introducing the Reverend George Wilcox Brown III. Also happens to be my first cousin. His father and my mother were brother and sister and grew up with their other two siblings in Griffin, Georgia. And as the only boy in my family, Will was a brother I never had. And I think we got a picture of him somewhere here. So I'm the one on the left, cool and collected, and he's the one on the right, acting a fool. And he still does that today a good bit. So born only 7 days apart, March 31st, March 23rd. We spent our youth terrorizing my sister, hunting, fishing on the farm. Every weekend we could spend together. We tried to over holidays. Great childhood, and I was his best man at his wedding a few years back. But he was born and raised in Griffin, spent his high school years in Virginia, attended the University of the South at Sewanee and Yale Divinity School. He was a Thomas J. Watson Fellow and spent a year living with Christian monks in Europe, Africa, and the South Pacific. He was ordained a priest in the Episcopal Diocese of Georgia in 2006. He served for 12 years in Dallas, Texas, and has been a priest at All Saints Episcopal Church in Thomasville, Georgia, since 2018. He's published a book on theology and conservation, worked for several years as a consultant in the area of marine fisheries policy at both the state and federal levels. He's an avid hunter and outdoorsman and fisherman. He's married to Kate. They have 2 children, George Tucker and Stella May, and an English cocker named General Beauregard. His great-great-great-great-grandfather, James Eppinger, was a member of this body, the Georgia House, from 1837 to 1841. My friends, I give you the Reverend Will Brown.
Good morning. This is the biggest church I've ever been in, I think. It's an honor to be here, and thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Cousin Representative. Some of you know Representative Cannon got his start in field artillery, and it's fair to say, I think, that he really got his start when we were kids and we used to shoot each other with BB guns and bottle rockets. And that went on until he shot me in the eye one day, and then our parents put a quick halt to that. But I think that's how he got his start in artillery. That's probably how I got my start as a man of peace. I'm a firm believer in peace now. It's one of the few things I have in common with Saddam Hussein's army, is I've been shot at by Colonel Cannon. On a serious note, I want to acknowledge everybody here who served in our military and our law enforcement and emergency services, all the people here who willingly have put themselves between us and the things, the powers in the world that would do us harm. I never served myself, but I've told my wife I'm a veteran of 1,000 psychic wars, and that's a good place to start with what I want to say to you today in brief. We are at war. If you look at the news, I think you'll intuitively know what I'm talking about. We are at war. It's a spiritual war, and we, I think, reflexively think that spiritual means nebulous and sort of unreal, but in fact, the opposite is the case. And lately, it's kind of starting to break out into the material order, and not least into the domain of our politics. My dear legislators, in a certain sense, you are on the front lines of this war. And I want to distill a little bit of wisdom from God's word for you this morning. First, St. Paul said we're fighting for an immortal crown, which means the stakes in this war, the stakes are eternal stakes. Secondly, our enemies are not who we think they are. We fight not against flesh and blood, not against people, but against principalities, against powers, against the world rulers of this present darkness, against spiritual wickedness in high places. We're fighting against 3 things: a corrupt and death-bound world system, against Satan, and against the lusts of our own flesh. In his great work, which some of you have probably read, The Gulag Archipelago, Alexander Solzhenitsyn contemplated how Russia in his day became such a totalitarian hellscape, and he came to this conclusion. He said, "Gradually it was disclosed to me that the line separating good and evil passes not where we think, not between nations and states, not between classes of people or races, or even between political parties, but the line separating good and evil runs through the middle of every human heart. We all have the potential to do good or to do evil." 3, that puts your work as legislators into a pretty important light. Our Georgia Constitution says that our government exists to perpetuate the principles of free government, to ensure justice to all, to preserve peace, to promote the interest and happiness of the citizen and of the family, and to transmit to posterity the enjoyment of liberty. That's a pretty good distillation of the principles of liberal government everywhere. But here's the thing. In 1798, John Adams wrote to the Massachusetts militia. His words are as apt, or more apt perhaps, today than they were in 1798. He said this: "We have no government armed with power, capable of contending with human passions, unbridled by morality and religion. Our Constitution," and this applies to our Georgia Constitution as well as to our federal Constitution, "our Constitution was made only for a moral and religious people, and it is entirely inadequate for the government of any other." That means that your work as a legislature is hard, and I think it's going to get harder as time goes on, but it's also crucially important. And it means your work has to begin in your own heart and in your own home, with your own family and your own relationships with other people. And only with such a beginning, only with such a grounding, will your work in this place be a radiant blessing to your constituents and to the rest of our state and to our nation, as God intends it for it to be. If you'll bow your heads, I want to pray for you. Stand if you're able. Almighty God, fountain of all wisdom, your statutes are good and gracious, and your law is truth. We thank you for the state of Georgia, our home. You've given this good land to us for our heritage. We humbly ask you that we may always prove ourselves a people mindful of your favor and glad to do your will. Bless our state with honorable industry, sound learning, and pure manners. Save us from violence, discord, and confusion, from pride and arrogance, and from every evil way. Defend our liberties and fashion into one united people the multitudes whom sin, Satan, and self-interest would seek to divide. Guide and bless this house. Endue its members with the spirit of wisdom, together with the Senate and with our governor, and especially today we pray for the judiciary, all of whom we, the citizens, have entrusted with the authority of government. Grant that this body may ordain for our governance only such things as please you, to the glory of your name and the welfare of our people. Grant that there may be justice and peace throughout Georgia, and that through obedience to your law, we may show forth your praise among the states of our nation and among the nations of the earth. In the time of prosperity, fill our hearts with gratitude, and in the day of trouble, suffer not our trust in you to falter. All of which we ask through Jesus Christ, your Son, our Lord. Amen. If you'll remain standing and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance
Doorkeepers, you may unlock the doors. Now, you didn't even the score with him when he talked about that photo of you as babies. But I can look at these two and I know who won the battles when they were growing up, though. Don't y'all know? No doubt. Brother Will, thank you for those words. They are inspiration to us. We appreciate you being here. You may join Brother Will in the South Ante room and give him your thanks for being here. Chairlady Taylor, Chairlady Darlene Taylor, would you join us up on Chairlady Taylor? Would you join us? Members, our doctor of the day is Dr. Shami Das, and Dr. Das is brought to us by one of our own, Representative Mary Margaret Oliver. Thank you for bringing our doctor of the day today. Chairman Hilton, the chair of the Committee on Information and Audits, is recognized. Chairman Hilton.
Good morning, Mr. Speaker. Your Committee on Information Audits has read the journal the previous legislative day, and we found it to be correct.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman Hilton, the chair of the Committee on Information Audits, reports that the journal of the previous legislative day has been read and found to be correct. Is there any objection to dispense with the reading of the journal? Hearing none, the reading of the journal is dispensed with. Is there any objection to the confirmation of the journal? Hearing none, the journal is confirmed. Mr. Clerk, will you read the resolution establishing the order of business for the day? Mr. Clerk.
Representative Spation of the 104th moves following be established the order of business during the first part of the period. Unanimous consents. Introduction of bills and resolutions. First reading and reference of House bills and resolutions. Second reading of bills and resolutions. Reports of standing committees. First reading and reference of Senate bills and resolutions. Morning orders.
Is there any objection to the adoption of the resolution establishing the order of business of the day? Hearing none, the resolution is adopted. Thank you, members. First reading of bills and resolutions, the clerk will read.
House Bill 1163 by Representative Reeves, the 99th, Hawkins, the 27th, Newton, the 127th, Hatchett, the 155th, Iowa, the 50th, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Chapter 13 entitled 51 of the official code of Georgia Annotated relating to recovery and medical malpractice actions.
Judiciary.
House Bill 1164 by Representative Wade of the 9th, Hatchett of the 155th, Jones of the 47th, Irwin of the 32nd, Gamble of the 15th, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Title 20 of the official code of Georgia Annotated relating to education.
Education.
House Bill 1165 by Representative Scott of the 76th, Cameron of the 1st, Davis of the 87th, Schofield of the 63rd, and Taylor of the 92nd. Bill be titled an act to amend Chapter 8 of Title 50 of the official code of Georgia Annotated relating to Department of Community Affairs.
State Planning and Community Affairs.
House Bill 1166 by Representative Herring of the 145th, Oliver of the 84th, Fry of the 122nd, Washburn of the 144th, Roberts of the 52nd, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Chapter 66 of Title 36 of the official code of Georgia Annotated relating to zoning procedures pertaining to counties and municipal corporations.
Governmental Affairs.
House Bill 1167 by Representative Dawson of the 65th, Hawkins of the 27th, Green of the 154th, Kelly the 16th, Glaze the 67th, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Chapter 4, Title 1, and Article 1 of Chapter 2A of Title 31 of the Georgia Annotated relating to holidays and observances.
Special Rules.
House Bill 1168 by Representative Huddleston of the 72nd. Bill be titled an act to provide a homestead exemption from Heard County School District ad valorem taxes.
Intergovernmental Coordination.
House Bill 1169 by Representative Camp of the 135th and Mathiak of the 82nd. Bill be titled an act to authorize the assessment and collection of a technology fee by the probate court of Spalding County.
Intergovernmental Coordination.
House Bill 1170 by Representative Camp of the 135th and Mathiak of the 82nd. Bill be titled an act to authorize the assessment and collection of a technology fee by the State Court of Spalding County.
Intergovernmental Coordination.
House Bill 1171 by Representative Fry of the 122nd, Oliver of the 84th, Williams of the 37th, Gilliard of the 162nd, Glaze of the 67th, and others. Bill be titled act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 7 of Title 44 of the official code of Georgia Annotated relating to general provisions regarding landlord and tenant.
Judiciary.
House Bill 1172 by Representative Camp of the 135th and Mathiak of the 82nd. Bill be titled an act to authorize the assessment and collection of a technology fee by the Magistrate Court of Spalding County.
Intergovernmental coordination.
House Bill 73 by Representative Scott of the 76th, Blaine of the 109th, Davis of the 87th, and Schofield of the 63rd. Bill be titled an act to amend titles 20, 34, and 45 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to education, labor, and industrial relations.
Industry and labor.
House Bill 1174 by Representative Draper of the 90th, Park of the 107th, Roberts of the 52nd, Crawford of the 89th, and Oliver of the 84th. Bill be titled an act to amend Chapter 1 of Title 34 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to general provisions regarding labor and industrial relations.
Industry and labor.
House Bill 1175 by Representative Neal of the 79th. The bill be titled an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 8 of Title 16 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to theft.
Judiciary non-civil.
House Bill 1176 by Representative Cannon of the 172nd, Huddleston 72nd, Rhodes 124th, Dickey the 134th, and Stevens of the 164th. Bill be titled an act to amend Title 48 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to revenue and taxation.
Ways and means.
1177 by Representative Williams, the 168th, Oliver the 84th, Fry the 122nd, Stevens the 160th, Deloach the 167th, and others. The bill be titled an act to amend Chapter 62 of Title 36 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to development authorities.
Governmental affairs.
House Bill 1178 by Representative Horner the 3rd, Tarvin the 2nd, Person 119th, Scoggins the 14th, Ridley the 6th, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 5 of Title 28 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to general provisions regarding financial affairs.
Budget and fiscal affairs oversight.
House Bill 1179 by Representative Stevens, the 164th, Green, and the 154th. Townsend of the 179th, Bonner the 73rd, Gamble the 15th, and others. The bill be titled an act to amend Article 3, Chapter 13, and Title 48 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to excise tax on rooms, lodging, and accommodations.
Ways and means.
1180 by Representative Crowe, the 118th, Campbell, the 135th, Reeves, and the 99th, Washburn, and the 144th, Paris, and the 142nd. Bill be titled an act to amend Chapter 26 and Title 50 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to Georgia Housing and Finance Authority.
Governmental affairs.
House Resolution 1201 by Representative Scott of the 76th, Davis of the 87th, Schofield of the 63rd. A resolution recognizing Ambassador Davisha L. Johnson.
Special rules.
House Resolution 1202 by Representative Scott of the 76th, Davis of the 87th, Schofield of the 63rd. A resolution recognizing National Immunization Week.
Special rules.
House Resolution 1203 by Representative Scott of the 76th, Davis of the 87th, Schofield of the 63rd. A resolution proposing an amendment to the Constitution so as to provide that the General Assembly may by general law provide a trust fund.
Judiciary.
House Resolution 1204 by Representative Hawkins, the 27th, Newton of the 127th, Cooper the 45th, Jaspers the 11th, and Hughley of the 141st. A resolution recognizing the burden of lung cancer in the United States and the state of Georgia.
Special rules.
House Resolution 1205 by Representative Berry, the 56th, Cannon the 58th, Bell of the 75th, Hughley of the 141st, Williams the 168th, and others. A resolution recognizing the Honorable Abel Mabel Thomas and dedicating an intersection in her honor.
Transportation.
Senate Bill 382 by Senator Huffstetler of the 52nd, Albers the 56th, Walker the 20th, Anna Devarda the 31st, Hatchett of the 50th, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Chapter 5 of Title 48 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to ad valorem taxation of property.
Ways and means.
Senate Bill 420 by Senator Eccles of the 49th, Anderson the 24th, Gooch the 51st, Anna Devarda the 31st, Still of the 48th, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Code Section 27, 2, 23 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating license, permit, tag, and stamp fees.
Game, fish, and parks.
That completes first readers.
Second reading of bills and resolutions. Mr. Clerk, will you read?
House Bill 1117 by Representative Franklin of the 160th, Smith of the 18th, Stevens of the 164th, Chokers of the 151st, Gamble of the 15th, and others. A bill relating to unfair trade practices and motor vehicle accident reparations. House Bill 1118 by Representative Donatucci of the 105th, Jones of the 47th, Cooper of the 45th, Chokers of the 151st, Green of the 154th, and others. A bill relating to general provisions relative to personnel administration. House Bill 1119 by Representative Carpenter of the 4th, Bonner of the 73rd, Stevens of the 164th, Gullett of the 19th, Yertz of the 152nd, a bill relating to workers' compensation. House Bill 1120 by Representative Gunter of the 8th, the bill to provide for an referendum for the purpose of ascertaining whether the electors of Union County desire the governing authority of that county to be changed. House Bill 1121 by Representative Williams of the 148th, Hagan of the 156th, Stinson of the 150th, the bill relating to the term of Superior Court. House Bill 1122 by Representative Douglas of the 78th, Newton of the 127th, Hughley of the 141st, Hawkins of the 27th, Howard of the 129th, the bill relating to general provisions regarding insurance. House Bill 1123 by Representative Jones of the 47th, Irwin of the 32nd, Hilton of the 48th, Ballard of the 147th, Don Tucci of the 105th, and others. A bill relating to other educational programs under the Quality Basic Education Act. House Bill 1124 by Representative Panich of the 51st, Evans of the 57th, Barrett of the 24th, Tran of the 80th, the bill relating to general provisions relative to state government. House Bill 1125 by Representative Neal of the 79th and Carpenter of the 4th, the bill to amend the Georgia Entertainment Industry Investment Act. House Bill 1126 by Representative Neal of the 79th and Carpenter of the 4th, the bill relating to imposition rate, computation, exemptions, and credits regarding income tax. House Bill 1127 by Representative Crawford of the 89th, Westbrook of the 163rd, Oliver of the 84th, Holcomb of the 101st, Willis of the 55th, and others. A bill relating to possession of dangerous weapons. House Bill 1128 by Representative Seabaugh of the 34th, Gamble of the 15th, Wade of the 9th, Werkheiser of the 157th, Bonner of the 73rd, and others. A bill relating to required notice regarding injured peace officers. House Bill 1129 by Representative Seabaugh of the 34th, Gamble of the 15th, Wade of the 9th, Abstraction of the 104th, Hong of the 103rd, and others. A bill relating to criteria for enterprise zone. House Bill 1130 by Representative Seabaugh of the 34th, Gamble of the 15th, Rice of the 139th, Deloge of the 167th, Pritchett of the 176th, and others. A bill relating to government transparency and campaign finance. House Bill 1131 by Representative Hong of the 103rd, Smith of the 18th, Sains of the 180th, Reeves of the 99th, Scoggins of the 14th. A bill relating to warrants for arrests. House Bill 1132 by Representative Franklin of the 160th, Stevens of the 164th, Evans of the 57th, Jones of the 25th, Crow of the 118th, and others. A bill relating to general provisions relative to state sales and use tax. House Bill 1133 by Representative Dickey of the 134th, Corbett of the 174th, Camp of the 135th, and Smith of the 70th. A bill relating to Georgia Environmental Finance Authority. House Bill 1134 by Representative New of the 40th, Corbett of the 174th, Mathis of the 133rd, Powell of the 33rd, and Smith of the 138th. A bill relating to pawnbrokers, factors, bailies, acceptors, and depositories. House Bill 1135 by Representative Hilton of the 48th, Jones of the 47th, Abstraction of the 104th, Cannon of the 172nd, Townsend of the 179th, and others. A bill relating to student scholarship organization. House Bill 1136 by Representative Glaze of the 67th, Rice of the 139th, Franklin of the 160th, Mitchell of the 88th, Williams of the 168th, and others. A bill to amend the Georgia Smoke-Free Air Act of 2005. House Bill 1137 by Representative Silcox of the 53rd, Jaspers of the 11th, Evans of the 57th, Willis of the 55th, Tran of the 80th, and others. A bill to amend the Metropolitan Atlanta Rapid Transit Authority Act of 1965. House Bill 1138 by Representative Camp of the 135th, Jones of the 47th, Ballard of the 147th, Rice of the 139th, Reeves of the 99th, and others. A bill relating to practice of pharmacy. House Bill 1139 by Representative Camp of the 135th and Mathiak of the 82nd. A bill to amend an act creating the Spalding County Water and Sewage Facilities Authority. House Bill 1140 by Representative Hagan of the 156th and Williams of the 148th. The bill to authorize the assessment and collection of a technology fee by the Magistrate Court of Ben Hill County. House Bill 1141 by Representative Camp of the 135th, Jenkins of the 136th, Rice of the 139th, and Panich of the 51st. A bill relating to the right to obtain an independent medical evaluation or for pediatric specialty consultation. House Bill 1142 by Representative Hagan of the 156th, Hong of the 103rd, Jones of the 47th, Don Tucci of the 105th, Reeves of the 99th, and others. A bill relating to courts and domestic relations. House Bill 1143 by Representative Schofield of the 63rd, Buckner of the 137th, Hughley of the 141st, Davis of the 87th, Scott of the 76th. A bill relating to general provisions regarding health. House Bill 1144 by Representative Schofield of the 63rd, Hughley of the 141st, Buckner of the 137th, Mathiak of the 82nd, Davis of the 87th, and others. A bill relating to sales and use taxes. House Bill 1145 by Representative Paris of the 142nd, Oliver of the 84th, Holcomb of the 101st, Fry of the 122nd, Leverett of the 123rd and others, a bill relating to tax exemptions. House Bill 1146 by Representative Olalier of the 59th, Hughley of the 141st, Townsend of the 179th, Westbrook of the 163rd, Herring of the 145th, and others. A bill relating to general provisions relative to early care and learning. House Bill 1147 by Representative Olalier of the 59th, Blaze of the 67th, Townsend of the 179th, Wilkerson of the 38th, Howard of the 129th, and others. A bill relating to general provisions relative to early care and learning. House Bill 1148 by Representative Cannon of the 172nd, Dickey of the 134th, Corbett of the 174th, Rhodes of the 124th, Meeks of the 178th, and others. A bill relating to income tax imposition rate computation, exemptions, and credits. House Bill 1149 by Representative Cooper of the 45th, Jones of the 47th, Hawkins of the 27th, Gitzler of the 121st, Hagan of the 156th, and others. A bill relating to insurance generally. House Bill 1150 by Representative Powell of the 33rd, Jones of the 47th, Osteen of the 169th, Don Tucci of the 105th. A bill relating to physicians, assistants, and others. House Bill 1151 by Representative Park of the 107th, Hughley of the 141st, Miller of the 62nd, Gitzler of the 121st, Herring of the 145th, and others. A bill relating to medical assistance generally. House Bill 1152 by Representative Park of the 107th, Hughley of the 141st, Miller of the 62nd, Gitzler of the 121st, Herring of the 145th, and others. A bill relating to computation of taxable net income. House Bill 1153 by Representative Oliver of the 84th, Holcomb of the 101st, Fry of the 122nd, Ali of the 106th, Williams of the 37th, and others. A bill relating to imposition rate computation, exemptions, and credits. House Bill 1154 by Representative Clark of the 100th, Smith of the 18th, Gullett of the 19th, Powell of the 33rd, and McCollum of the 30th, and others. A bill relating to procedure for imposition of death penalty. House Bill 1155 by Representative Ford of the 170th, Osteen of the 169th, a bill to amend an act creating a Board of Commissioners of Tift County. House Bill 1156 by Representative Richardson of the 125th, Newton of the 127th, Leverett of the 123rd, Clifton of the 131st, Smith of the 138th, and others. A bill relating to local government. House Bill 1157 by Representative Evans of the 57th, McLean of the 109th, Tran of the 80th, Glaze of the 67th, Kendrick of the 95th, and others. A bill relating to minimum wage law. House Bill 1158 by Representative Horner of the 3rd, Cox of the 28th, Estration of the 104th, Fleming of the 114th, Campbell of the 171st, and others. A bill relating to general provisions regarding state government. House Bill 1159 by Representative Gamble of the 15th, Seabaugh of the 34th, Wade of the 9th, Blackman of the 146th, Williamson of the 112th, and others. A bill relating to imposition rate computation, exemptions, and credits relative to income taxes. House Bill 1160 by Representative Crawford of the 89th, Smith of the 18th, Evans of the 57th, Hong of the 103rd, Kelly of the 16th, and others. A bill relating to tolling limitations. House Bill 1161 by Representative Lim of the 98th, Clark of the 108th, Santos of the 117th, Hong of the 103rd, Reeves of the 99th, and others. A bill relating to motor vehicles and traffic. House Bill 1162 by Representative Hawley of the 116th, Santos of the 117th, Sanchez of the 42nd, Lupton of the 83rd, Neal of the 79th. A bill relating to records and reports relative to business corporations, miscellaneous provisions relative to limited liability companies. House Resolution 1177 by Representative Glaze of the 67th, Rice of the 139th, Mitchell of the 88th, Williams of the 168th, Buckner of the 137th, and others. A resolution urging pedestrians in Georgia to wear bright or reflective clothing at night. House Resolution 1178 by Representative Richardson of the 125th, Newton of the 127th, Leverett of the 123rd, Clifton of the 131st, Smith of the 138th, and others. A resolution proposing an amendment to the Constitution so as to remove the cap on benefits granted pursuant to the Homeowners Incentive Adjustment Clause. House Resolution 1200 by Representative Gitzler of the 121st, Draper of the 90th, Roberts of the 52nd, Tran of the 80th, Olalier of the 59th, and others. A resolution urging the Georgia Secretary of State to continue to protect private and protected information contained in Georgia's voter registration list. Through second readers.
Reports of standing committees. Mr. Clerk, will you read?
Representative Matt Hatchett of the 155th District, Chairman of the Committee on Appropriations, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Appropriations has had under its consideration the following bill of the House and instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendation. House Bill 973, due passed by committee substitute, respectfully submitted. Representative Matt Hatchett of the 155th District, Chairman. Representative Sharon Cooper, the 45th District, Chairman of the Committee on Public and Community Health, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Public and Community Health has had under its consideration the following bills of the House and the Senate. It has instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendation. House Bill 657, due pass. House Bill 717, due pass by committee substitute. Senate Bill 162, due pass by committee substitute. Respectfully submitted, Representative Sharon Cooper, the 45th District, Chairman. That completes the reading of the reports of standing committees.
All right, members, we have some business we need to attend to here, and it's called morning orders. We have some folks in the gallery members want to recognize. We also have a deadline. It's called the State of the Judiciary. They will be here shortly, so you will have, and we have a whole slew of morning orders. Y'all have 1 minute. 1 minute to get your message out. And I'm going to call on Representative Derek Jackson, Representative Jackson, and Representative Gullett, you're on deck. Then Representative Ford, you're after Representative Gullett. Y'all clear the aisle so Representative Jackson. All right, the House will come to order. Members in the center aisle, take your conversation someplace else. Members, give the attention to the members about to be in the well. Representative Derek Jackson is recognized for a morning order. Representative Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I'll try to do this as quick as possible. We know we have some families from the coast that are visiting us today, and some of their loved ones were part of a tragedy that took place 55 years ago. Since the ground beneath Woodbine, Georgia, shook with a force that could be felt for 50 miles. But for those in Camden County, the tremors didn't just shake the earth, they shattered families, silenced a generation of mothers, and left a scar on our state's history. On February 3rd of 1971, the Theoco Chemical Corporation building M132 wasn't just a factory, it was a place where dreams were being built. At a time when opportunities were scarce, hundreds of local residents, primarily black women, went to work each and every day. But at 10:53 a.m., a spark in a curing room turned the building into a furnace. The fire was swift, and the explosion took 29 lives. And Mr. Speaker, if I can have everyone to stand as we remember these heroes and sheroes, Georgians that died on February 3rd, 1971, if I may just call their name: Emma Lou Ashby, Lila Bell Baker, Doris Mae Brown, Maddie Lou Brown, Addie Mae Brown, Idell Brown, Evelyn Beatrice Kaysen, Leola Cook, Bernice Corley, Mildred Bernice Dasher, Beulah Mae Dawson, Dorothy Ann Dunham, Geneva Florence, Gladys Gasson, Mary Alice Gasson, Ethel Mae Henderson, Gladys Jackson, Mary Elizabeth Jackson, Lila Bell McGrew, Mildred McKnight, Julia Mae Moore, Catherine Patterson, Eleanor Porter, Inez Roberts, Ida Mae Salins, Beatrice Way, Sadie Lee Welch, and Mary Lee White. May we remember them always, and some of their family members are visiting the state today. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative. I remember that tragedy, and it was just, thank you for your remembrance. Thank you, members. Representative Gullett, Chairman Gullett and friends, recognized for a morning order. Give the gentleman your attention, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today to recognize the HOSA chapter of Paulding County High School for its outstanding leadership and service. In just 3 years, this chapter has grown from 14 members to over 250 members, becoming one of the largest in the region and opening doors for students pursuing careers in healthcare through education, internships, and volunteer service. Their work has already made a real difference here at home, contributing to more than 1,000 hours of community service and partnering with organizations like the American Red Cross and National Marrow Donor Program to support life-saving efforts. This chapter has also earned recognition at the state and international levels, showcasing both Paulding County and Georgia with pride. We're honored to have their student officers and advisor with us today, and I ask that you join in recognizing their exceptional work. Thank you so much.
Welcome to the Capitol. Representative Ford has a special group she wants to recognize on a special day. Representative Jacqueline Ford.
Thank you, Speaker and members. Today, I'd like to recognize the Georgia Agribusiness Council. Hopefully you enjoyed our breakfast this morning. Jet Howard and I are honored to represent our industry on the Georgia Agribusiness Council board. And we would like to welcome the leaders here from Georgia's #1 industry. And I would especially like to recognize my friend Donna Stewart for being the first ever lady chair of the Georgia Agribusiness Council. And I would also like to recognize the president of the Georgia Agribusiness Council, our fearless leader, Will Bentley, who we all know around the Capitol, for receiving the 100 Most Influential Georgians this year by Georgia Trend magazine. Congratulations, Will. Thank you.
We're going to recognize two doctors now who happen also to be representatives. Dr. Al and Dr. Newton, recognized for morning order. Chairman Carson, you're on deck, and Representative Martinez.
All right, good morning, colleagues. We're here to acknowledge all our physicians and physician trainees who are here today for Physicians Day at the Capitol. If you could please stand.
Thank you all. You'll see over 240 physicians and physicians in training that are visiting today. I know this body cares a lot about healthcare, about expanding residencies so we can go from being the 40th in the nation in physicians per capita. So we're excited that a lot of them have taken time out of their pretty busy schedules to be on their own and come from all across Georgia, from southern border to northern border. So I hope when you see some of them in white coats around there, you'll greet them, maybe get their cell phone number in case you ever need them back home, and share yours with them. So I think it'll be a great day. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Representative Martinez. Representative Ray Martinez recognized for a morning order. Oh, wow. That's a fan club, too. Oh, crowd. He must be paid.
I am. Yeah, baby. Yes. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise here today to celebrate Hispanic Day at the Capitol, Mr. Speaker. Georgia is home to more than 1 million Hispanics, representing 11% of our population, residing all over our great state, including Hall, Whitfield, Gwinnett, and Fulton counties, and cities of Norcross, Gainesville, Dalton, Milledgeville, and Columbus, contributing over $52.2 billion in Georgia. 91,000 Latino businesses call Georgia home. Latinos have the highest workforce of any group. I'd like to recognize Bob Unene, CEO of the Great Beans Goya Foods. If you ever had those beans, he's the CEO. And America First Policy Institute Director.
I'm going to have to quiet down. I'm going to have to do something. What I want to do. All right, you need to finish up, Representative.
Alfonso Aguilar, supporting Hispanics family around the state. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you for your participation. Okay, members, we've run against a timeline here. If you had signed up for a morning order and you have some people in the gallery, you need to come right down front. We're going to do it very quickly. Very quickly. If you have people in the gallery, folks in the gallery, otherwise we'll do your morning orders as an afternoon order if you're just recognizing a day. Lady Cooper, you have folks in the gallery? Our lady's recognized for a morning order. Give the lady your attention, please.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today is Public Health Day at the Capitol, and we have public health students and faculty from Augusta University, Emory University, Georgia Southern University, Georgia State, Mercer University, Morehouse School of Medicine, and the University of Georgia. These are students committed to taking on and solving public health issues facing our state. They'll be in the South Wing from 1 to 2:30 this afternoon. I hope you'll stop and see them. And they're wearing salmon-colored ribbons. If they're supposed to be in the gallery, please stand down and let us say, welcome to the Capitol. Nope.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Schofield, recognized for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, this morning, many of us have shared very deeply personal stories of family members, friends, colleagues who lived or have been touched by cancer. Stories of loss, stories of survival, stories of courage, and stories that remind us that cancer does not discriminate, but it demands. Today, I'm honored to recognize the advocates, survivors, caregivers, volunteers of the American Cancer Society Cancer Action Network. Today being World Cancer Day, we recognize February 4th as Cancer Action Day, and we lift up those who are fighting cancer. But not only those, but the survivors who walk in strength and resilience and the families that stand behind them. Thank you for your advocacy, courage, dedication. Will you please stand, those in the gallery? Thank you for being here. Thank you for your voices. Thank you for your stories. Thank you for reminding us why this work matters. Mr. Speaker, I yield the well.
Thank you for that recognition, and thank you for what you all do.
Thank you. Thank you.
Working with a terrible disease and looking for solutions. Is there anyone else who has people?
They all do, I think.
Representative Glaze and friends.
Thank you. We want to stand and recognize the National School Counseling Week at the state capitol. Counselors throughout Georgia are visiting with us today. School counselors are employed in public, private, and parochial schools, and they make sure that the potential of our children reaches into the workforce of Georgia. And so we want to say thank you for your work, and we have President Gabby Brundwich with us today. Thank you, counselors. We appreciate you.
Thank you, counselors. You do great work. We appreciate you being here. Whip Burchett, Leader F. Stration, and friends recognized for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's a proud day for me. I've never had the opportunity to recognize another majority whip here, but we have some friends from the Tar Heel State up in the balcony. If you'd stand, we got Majority Whip Carl Gillespie and Representative Mark Pless from North Carolina. Carl and Mark represent the mountains of western North Carolina, and as you are aware, they were hit very hard by Hurricane Helene. And the hurricane didn't, have any respect for state lines. And our folks down at Waycross and South Georgia also were hit significantly hard. But because we are sister states and we have, sort of a brothership with these folks, we had friends from our house here, Derek McCullum, Rick Jaspers, Lauren McDonald, Brent Cox, to name a few, and many more that went up and rendered aid to our friends in North Carolina. We just want to let you know that if there's a time of need, that we're going to be there for you because we know you'll be there for us. So we appreciate you gentlemen joining us here in the house today.
This photo here is us actually delivering supplies to the National Guard of North Carolina. And also Majority Leader Stration, myself, and Esther had the opportunity to go to Israel as well with you, Carl, and we appreciate the friendship. And we're always here for you guys. God bless you.
Gentlemen, thank you for your partnership with Georgia, North Carolina. We share a lot. And thank you for serving your people, taking care of your neighbors. And thanks for being here and embracing us as we embrace you, and we can work together to take care of people when they're in need. Thank you so much. Chairlady Camp is recognized for a morning order.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker and members of the House, today we welcome students and teachers from Lamar County High School, joined by Mrs. Shelby Pullen, advisor for FCCLA of America, and Mrs. Precious Pennyman, advisor for HOSA, along with their outstanding students. These students are visiting as part of the Georgia CTSO Legislative Expo and are here to thank Georgia legislators for continued support for the career and technical student organizations. Please join me in welcoming them to the House, recognizing their commitment to leadership, career readiness, and their communities. Thank you.
Thank you, and welcome to the House. Thanks for recognizing them. Representative Noel Williams, Chairman Williams is recognized and friends for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wanted to recognize the credit unions that are here at the House visiting today. They do a lot of work here in this great state of Georgia, and thankful that they're here at the People's House. Thank you.
Okay, Chairman Petrie and the Chatham County delegation, Representative Edna Jackson, Representative Hitchens, Representative Stevens, Representative Ann Allen.
There she is.
I think that's all of y'all. I got you, Mayor.
Come on, Miss Edna. Thank you. Well, thank you, members of the House. Today is Savannah Day. We hope y'all will join us. I know Miss Edna's going to tell you a little bit about our big party tonight. I know y'all like Georgia Wild Shrimp. I want to tell you about a book. You've got a nice coffee table quality book, and I want to call your attention to page 79, which is all about Georgia Wild Shrimp, as an aside. Listen, folks, so Georgia's first city, Savannah, 1733, founded by a great man, James Edward Oglethorpe. There were three things he banned in the new colony: lawyers, rum, and slavery. He was a man before his time, and Savannah is indeed our most beautiful city. Miss Edna, do you want to add anything to that?
Yes, thank you very much. Good morning. Good morning. We are so excited that this is Savannah Day. We hope, well, we're trying to make sure you're going to be there because you have a praline at your desk. Please come, and you better come early because we will open the doors at 5 o'clock. We want you to come and eat all of the oysters, all of the other goodies, the shrimp, the whatever we have. This is our day to say thank you for all that you do to help us to move our legislation. So we're going to say thank you. Are you going to enjoy it? For those of you that may not eat, there is plenty to drink. So we're hoping that you're going to be there. That did it?
We got it. It's Savannah Day.
We got it. So we will see you at 5 o'clock. Come on out. And we want you to enjoy the hostess city of the South, Savannah.
Thank you, Representative. Obviously, you were mayor. They couldn't tell you to be quiet, but I can. You did a great job, Mayor. You know I appreciate you. Representative Eric Bell is recognized for our last morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for being acknowledged today. Today in the gallery, we have our CTSOs, our career and technical student organizations, your DECAs, your FBLAs, your CTIAs, and all the way from Clayton County, Georgia, we have the Marlboro Mustang Skill USA Club here. So if the CTSOs from Georgia, can you please stand while we welcome you? Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield the well.
Thank you for that recognition. Welcome to the People's House. Members, that concludes our morning orders. We have a former member on the floor with us. We want to recognize former Representative Misha Maynor. Good to see you. Make Misha welcome. All right, we're getting ready to go into our next segment, this joint session. So all guests now will ask you if you'll leave the floor. All guests, if you don't mind, if you'll leave the floor. All right, members, the House will come to order. Members, take your seats. We're about to invite our guest into the room, Mr. Doorkeeper.
Mr. Speaker, the President Pro Tem, and the members of the Senate await entrance to the House chambers.
Mr. Doorkeeper, allow the President Pro Tem, and the members of the Senate to enter the House chamber, and will the messenger please escort them to their designated seats.
Members of the General Assembly, joint session will come to order. All members, please take your seats. Recognize the doorkeeper, Ms. Sergeant at Arms.
Mr. President, the Honorable Nels S.D. Peterson, Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, the Honorable Sarah Hawkins Warren, Presiding Justice of the Supreme Court, the Honorable Trenton Brown, Chief Judge of the Court of Appeal, and the Justices and the Judges of the Supreme Court and the Court of Appeals respectfully await entrance into the chamber.
Ms. Sergeant at Arms, please allow the Honorable Nels S.C. Peterson, Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, the Honorable Sarah Hawkins Warren, Presiding Justice of the Supreme Court, and the Honorable Trenton Brown, Chief Judge of the Court of Appeals, Justice of the Judge of the Supreme Court and the Court of Appeals, allow them access into this chamber. House doorkeeper will escort them to their seats.
All members will take their seats. All members will take their seats. Mr. Speaker, it's great to be in the people's house today. How about that? It's good to be here. Secretary, read the caption.
Senate Resolution 645 by Senator Walker III of the 20th and others, a resolution calling a joint session of the House of Representatives and the Senate for the purpose of hearing a message from the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, inviting each Justice of the Supreme Court and each Judge of the Court of Appeals to be present for the joint session and for other purposes. Mr. President, that completes the order.
Thank you, Secretary. I would like to take this opportunity to recognize some very special guests here today. Obviously, the Speaker of this fine House, Mr. John Burns. Also like to recognize Speaker Pro Tem Jan Jones here. And our President Pro Tem, Mr. Larry Walker III. Also, I'd like to welcome all our constitutional officers and their guests here. And now to introduce our Chief Justice here. And it gives me great pleasure to introduce Honorable Nell S.D. Peterson, Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Georgia. Justice Peterson was appointed to the Supreme Court by Governor Nathan Deal in 2016 and assumed office as the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court on April 1, 2025. Prior to his time on the court, he served in a variety of other roles in Georgia state government, including as a judge on the Georgia Court of Appeals, General Counsel to the University System of Georgia, Georgia's first Solicitor General in the Attorney General's office, the Executive Counsel to the Governor. Before entering the state government, he practiced law in Atlanta and clerked for Chief Judge William H. Pryor, Jr. of the United States Court of Appeals of the 11th Circuit. He is a proud graduate of Kennesaw State University and Harvard Law School. He serves on numerous government nonprofit boards and committees and has received a variety of honors and awards. He lives with his wife and 2 children in Cobb County, and it is my honor to present you today the Justice of the Supreme Court, the Honorable Nell Peterson.
Lieutenant Governor Jones, Speaker Burns, President Pro Tem Walker, Speaker Pro Tem Jones, members of the General Assembly, Presiding Justice Warren and my fellow justices, Chief Judge Brown and my friends on the Court of Appeals, other judges, and fellow Georgians. Every year, the governor reports on the state of the state, and that report always includes the announcement of significant policy proposals and budget priorities. The subjects of that speech are critical to your work as legislators. This speech is different. Unlike the governor, the courts have no formal role in the legislative process. Sometimes Chief Justices use this as a time to brag on the good work of Georgia courts, or talk about promising judicial branch policy initiatives. And I'll do some of that, because there's a lot of great work to tell you about. But today, I principally want to talk to you about what the judicial system is for, and to remind us all of the role we must each play to support and defend the rule of law. Central to the rule of law is the idea that no person is above the law's requirements or beneath its protections. It's the idea that law applies equally to everyone, and the courts apply it impartially and independently. And today, I can proudly report that the state of Georgia's judiciary is strong because Georgia's commitment to the rule of law is strong. The state of our judiciary will remain strong only so long as we remain committed to the rule of law. The rule of law has always required defending, and today is no exception. The judicial oath calls Georgia judges to do equal rights for the poor and the rich. In other words, for the weak and the powerful. Of course, the rule of law is rarely tested when the powerful or the popular win in court. Results that go the other way can sometimes be a different matter. The rule of law has always been fragile because by its very nature, it requires the strong and the rich to accept results in favor of the weak and the poor. It requires popular majorities of all kinds to accept outcomes in favor of small, unpopular minority groups. It requires the most powerful of all, the government, to accept and obey limits on government power. This rule of law that we enjoy as Americans has rarely happened throughout human history. What we have had in this country for 250 years, as imperfect as it has been, especially here in the South, is so rare, and yet we often take it for granted. If we are to continue to enjoy the many blessings that flow from the rule of law, we cannot continue taking it for granted. Each of us, all of us, must do our part, whatever that may be, to defend the rule of law. A critical part is this: when you hear about judicial decisions whose outcomes you don't like, don't reflexively question the court's legitimacy. It's okay to disagree, even to protest, but the rule of law will not survive when the legitimacy of judicial decisions and those who make them is routinely questioned every time there's an unpopular outcome. And here, I should add a word on what the rule of law is not. The rule of law is not rule by judges. The law's constraints fall most strongly on judges. If we push against those constraints, we ourselves undermine the rule of law. We must not stray out of our limited scope of deciding the cases before us according to the text of the law that other people make. Judges talk about the rule of law all the time, but it's also critical for the legislature. Neither of our branches has the authority or the ability to exercise force. That function is reserved for the executive. Instead, the work product of both of our branches is just our words. Judicial branch words come in a jury's verdict or in a written judicial opinion. We expect that these mere words will control the outcome of criminal prosecutions, decide which parent gets custody of their child, resolve matters with millions of dollars at stake, and everything in between, one case at a time. Legislative words work a little differently. One of you puts words on a page, and after a lot of work, the rest of you press red or green buttons. And with enough green buttons, those words reshape Georgia law for everyone. The words on the pages of both branches, although they operate differently, share this in common. The rule of law is the only thing that give any of our words power. Without the rule of law, you are all wasting your time, and we judges in robes are just playing a strange game of dress-up. This state capitol is a building for policy making and sometimes even politics. Policy making and politics are team sports, but judges don't play for a team. We wear robes, not jerseys, except, I suppose, for the occasional Saturday in the fall. But the rule of law depends on judges following the law impartially and independently. One key opportunity you have this session to strengthen healthy judicial independence and impartiality is by passing House Resolution 251, sponsored by Representative Kimberly New. This constitutional amendment would end the partisan election of probate judges. Last year, you passed House Bill 426, also sponsored by Representative New and by Senator Rick Williams, which ended the partisan election of magistrate judges. And we thank you for that. Taking this final step with H.R. 251 will ensure that all elected Georgia judges are elected solely on a nonpartisan basis. Judges must be impartial, and we must also conduct ourselves in such a way as to be perceived as impartial. Requiring any of us to publicly and formally align ourselves with a political party can only undermine the public's perception of the judiciary as impartial. I am grateful to former governors Roy Barnes and Nathan Deal for recognizing this truth and for jointly endorsing this constitutional amendment. Another important step that we are grateful you took last year was reforming Georgia's judicial compensation system. Representative Rob Leverett and Senator Bo Hatchett carried House Bills 85 and 86, which modernized an archaic and splintered system of compensating Georgia's statewide and superior court judges. And Chairman Matt Hatchett and Chairman Blake Tillery oversaw the funding of this system consistent with the new model. We are grateful to you all, and we look forward to this new model strengthening the judiciary over time. And what better way to transition from judicial compensation than to talk about how hard your courts are working? And we are. Annually collected statewide trial court data is not without limitations, but I'd like to highlight case filing increases in a few specific circuits around the state. For example, in the South Georgia circuit between Albany and the Florida border, case filings increased nearly 44% between 2023 and 2024. Just next door in DeKalb, cases have increased 17% during the same time period. And in the Chattahoochee Judicial Circuit, which includes Columbus, they've gone up 14%. And we know that trial courts are working hard across the state because appellate court caseloads have gone up. Year over year, the Supreme Court's direct appeal caseload has gone up 25%. The Court of Appeals direct appeal caseload in the same time period has gone up 24%. Because trial courts have to decide a case before an appellate court ever sees it, our appellate trends suggest that the trial court's workload and output has been trending upward over time. Now, while deciding cases is the core function of the judiciary, there's only so much we can say about that. Judicial ethics rules prohibit us from talking about specific cases. So our public focus is often instead on judicial policy initiatives. And I'm about to shift my focus to some of those, but I want to preface that shift with the acknowledgement that our work deciding cases is the critical work that courts do. And all the policy stuff is significant only to the extent that it enables and improves our work of deciding cases. In recent years, we have worked to improve the quality and reliability of data related to juvenile courts and foster care, an area of great importance and interest to our branches, and I hope you are seeing in the data that you receive those results. Our court improvement program, in partnership with the Department of Family and Children's Services, is piloting a new model intended to reduce the time from removal to reunification for Georgia children in foster care. This joint project is operating in Cobb, DeKalb, Fulton, and Gwinnett, and we hope will provide lessons and opportunities for expansion. Additionally, the juvenile courts in Athens, Clarke, Gwinnett, and Troup counties are serving as pilot sites for Georgia Thrive, Georgia's new infant-toddler court program. The product of the work of many partners across the healthcare, child welfare, legal, and public policy communities, this multi-year initiative seeks to address the unique needs and opportunities related to children from birth to age 3 who find themselves in our juvenile courts through obviously no fault of their own. We are grateful that legislators regularly lend their time to our branch on initiatives like this in the interest of helping improve the administration of justice. And with that service in mind, I want to take this opportunity to publicly extend the condolences of the judicial branch on the passing of a remarkable woman who committed her time to serving on our Courts Committee on Justice for Children and was a tireless voice for young Georgians, Representative Mandy Ballinger. Her life of service has left a legacy that will echo for generations. We have recently concluded two important study committees in the judicial branch. The first is the Judicial Council Ad Hoc Committee on Artificial Intelligence in the Courts, led by Justice Andrew Pinson, Vice Chief Judge Elizabeth Gobeil, and Superior Court Judge Steve Kelly. As AI's power and reach continues to advance rapidly, we all have to keep up. And AI poses both risk and opportunity for the judicial system. On the risk side, the most publicized problems are likely the least significant. You may have heard stories about lawyers filing briefs that are AI generated that cite non-existent cases because the AI tool invented them. That has happened here in Georgia. It shouldn't, and the lawyers that have done it expose themselves to serious discipline under existing rules. But the risk that kind of misconduct poses the system is relatively minimal as long as judges read the cases that are cited in their briefs. The more significant risks that we know about anyway are things like fabricated evidence. AI's capacity to generate false recordings or images presents a serious challenge to the court system's historic approach to authenticating evidence. We don't yet have answers to these problems, but we continue to work on them. AI may also offer opportunities. As a reminder, a core part of the rule of law is that no one is beneath the law's protections. But in 2023, over 420,000 Georgia civil cases involved at least one party without a lawyer. That's over 1/3 of the civil cases in Georgia's superior state probate and magistrate courts. And while Georgia's Constitution guarantees the right to represent yourself in court, it's a safe bet that most of those 420,000 unrepresented parties lacked a lawyer because they couldn't afford one. And in some counties, even if you can afford a lawyer, there may not be one to hire. 54 Georgia counties have 10 or fewer attorneys, and 8 counties, up from 7 last year, have no lawyers at all. The rule of law cannot be available only to those with access to lawyers. And as AI tools, I agree. And as AI tools improve, it may be that AI has a role to play in closing that gap. But we're not waiting for AI to solve this problem for us. The second study committee that recently completed its work is the Supreme Court Study Committee on Legal Regulatory Reform, led by Justice Carla Wong McMillan and presiding Judge Steve Dillard. It's easy to look at the problem of unrepresented litigants and decide that the government should just throw money at it. That is not what this committee did. The Georgia Constitution vests the exclusive authority for regulating the practice of law in the Supreme Court, and we do that through the state bar, an arm of the court. This committee studied our regulation of the practice of law to determine whether restrictions and limitations that we have imposed on non-lawyers assisting with legal issues might be making this problem worse. The committee recommended that the court consider a pilot project in which we permit trained non-lawyers to perform certain limited legal tasks. Other states have been experimenting with similar models, and we have the opportunity to use what worked for them and to avoid what didn't. As we evaluate this recommendation, I am hopeful that our creativity in lifting regulatory limitations may be a useful tool in closing the justice gap and ensuring that no Georgian is beneath the law's protections. And just as the rule of law requires that all people enjoy the law's protections, it also requires that we protect judges from those who would do them harm because of their rulings. Threats against judges have received national attention the last several years. Just a couple weeks ago, an Indiana judge and his wife were shot through their front door by a criminal defendant with a pending case in front of him. And the U.S. Marshals Service reports more than 560 threats against federal judges during FY 2025 alone. Georgia, on the other hand, has never had a process for tracking threats against Georgia judges comprehensively. Thanks to the great work of the Judicial Council Standing Committee on Security, led by Justice Sean Ellen LaGrua and Presiding Judge Brian Rickman, and supported by strategic investments that you have made, we are working towards such a process. And even with the existing limitations, we have already tracked 35 threats against 30 justices and judges since late 2024, resulting in 9 arrests. This year, we will look to build on the progress that we have already made. As I mentioned in greater detail several weeks ago to the Joint Appropriations Committees, the Supreme Court and the Court of Appeals budget requests seek a modest increase for funding for a joint effort to enhance judicial security that, if funded, will pay dividends across the state. I thank each of you for the support that you have given us in improving judicial security, and I ask that you continue to make it a priority. Given all of these challenges, why do Georgia judges persist in the hard work of making the rule of law real for Georgians? I think the answer is the same answer for you members of the General Assembly. You too face threats to your security. You too face all sorts of challenges in your community through your service. Both judges and legislators face a lot of the same challenges. We are all in this together. And we all face those challenges head on because we care about our communities. We care about the people we serve. We care about doing the right thing. And above all, we are committed to fulfilling our oaths. Your oath is a bit different from our oath because our roles are different. The judicial oath promises independence and impartiality. In contrast, the legislative oath promises the exercise of judgment in the service of the interests and prosperity of the state. But despite these differences, both the legislative and judicial oaths are rooted in the promise to uphold the Constitution of the state of Georgia and the Constitution of the United States. When we take these oaths, we make a promise to our communities. We make a promise to those who elected us. We make a promise to our families. And for many of us, we also make a promise to God. This aspect of the oath as a promise to God has shaped the history of our legal system. In fact, in colonial England, and for most of our history as a state, criminal defendants were prohibited from testifying under oath, lest in their desire for acquittal, they brought upon themselves divine judgment. Georgia was the last state in the Union to change that rule. We didn't change it until 1962. In the Catholic tradition, St. Thomas More is the patron saint of lawyers. But he wasn't just a lawyer. He also served as Speaker of the House of Commons and then Lord Chancellor of England under Henry VIII. He's a great example of both judges and legislators to emulate. He ultimately gave his life to avoid breaking his oath. His commitment to keep that promise to God is reflected, no matter the cost, is reflected in his last words, which characterized himself as the king's good servant and God's first. That's pretty good. But of course, as we like to remind our British friends every July 4th, and especially during this 250th anniversary of American independence, here in the United States we don't have a king. As the Constitution makes clear, here the people are sovereign. And so, as you return to your legislative business and we return to our judicial business, let us all commit to keep our oaths to the Constitution and the rule of law it embodies. If we do, we will truly be the people's good servants as we seek to be God's first. Thank you. May God bless each of you, our great state of Georgia, and the United States of America.
Thank you, Justice Peterson. Thoroughly enjoyed that. We greatly appreciate that, and we greatly appreciate all the judiciary members here. And thank y'all for your service and dedication to the state of Georgia. Mr. Doorkeeper, please escort the Chief Justice of the Justice of the Supreme Court and the judges of the Court of Appeals from the chamber at this time. Recognize the pro tem for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I know we've got a lot of work to do for Georgians, so I move that this joint session of the Georgia General Assembly be dissolved.
The President pro tem has moved that the joint session be dissolved. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. Ayes clearly have it. Have a wonderful day, everybody.
House will come back to order. Members will start getting close to your seat, and we'll recognize the clerk, and he can read the caption to a group of privileged resolutions. Mr. Clerk.
Honoring the life and memory of Sandra A. Collins. Recognizing, commending Dr. Gasper Lazaria. Recognizing, commending Christopher M. Lazaria. Recognizing the Georgia School of Orthodontics on the occasion of its 10th anniversary. Recognizing, commending the Georgia School of Orthodontics. Recognizing the Trenches Global Impact Center. Recognizing and commending the historic Booker T. Washington High School, class of 1976, on the occasion of their 50th reunion celebration. Congratulating and commending Deborah Leverett Garing on the occasion of her 71st birthday. Recognizing March 17, 2026 as Profound Autism Day. Commending Georgia Community Service Boards and recognizing February 5th, 2026 as Community Service Board Day at the State Capitol. Recognizing, commending the Georgia E-Commerce Auto Dealers Association. Recognizing February 11th, 2026 as National Guard Day at the State Capitol. Recognizing the Public Policy Club at Georgia State University for its commitment to civic engagement. Recognizing and congratulating Skills USA Georgia. Recognizing, commending the Georgia Asian Pacific American Bar Association. And recognizing, commending Alpharetta Public Safety Director John Robinson as Georgia's 2025 Outstanding Police Chief of the Year. And for other purposes, that completes the reading of the privilege resolutions.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Is there any objection to adopting the privilege resolutions? Hearing none, the resolutions are adopted. We have a couple of afternoon orders. Representative Derek Jackson is recognized for an afternoon order. Representative Jackson, if you can be somewhere around 2, that'll be good. Gentlemen will hold just for a second. Okay, members, we'll move on to afternoon orders. So be respectful of the member in the well. Representative Jackson is recognized for an afternoon order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My moment of black history is one of our own, Julian Bond. He used to sit right over there where Representative Edna Jackson sits today. I am a product of the Civil Rights Movement. I was born into a story that was written in the fires of resilience. On January 10th, 1966, one day before I would enter this world, the Georgia General Assembly did not allow for Julian Bond to be seated. They refused to seat him because he had the audacity to follow his conscience. They called his dissent unpatriotic, but Julian Bond knew the truth. There's a famous picture that's on the 4th floor that recognized this very thing. But Julian Bond said, true patriotism is demanding that your country live up to its own promise. And while he fought for his seat, he didn't just give the opportunity for him to not be seated. He picked up his pen, he organized, he understood that the struggle for civil rights in Georgia was tied to the struggle for human dignity across the globe. But nearly 100 years prior to that, September 1868, Henry McNeill Turner, another moment of black history, stood before the same Georgia legislature and protested his expulsion of black representatives. In closing, here we are in 2026, 60 years later, since Bond was denied, 158 years since Turner was expelled, and yet we continue this fight to be heard, to be seen, and to be recognized. My birth date, Mr. Speaker, was not a coincidence. It was a commission, and I don't just admire Julian Bond's legacy, but I embrace it. Every time I refuse to be silenced, I am honoring the man who was told no, so one day I can continue to say yes. And with that, I yield the well.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Ali. Most important afternoon order, excuse me. Give the gentleman your attention, please.
Mr. Speaker, members of this House, thank you once again for allowing me to continue this streak and this tradition. Please direct your attention to the screen to see Keziah. She is 15 years old. She is a musician at heart, enjoying rapping and dancing and singing and other musical talents. However, the most important part is that she is looking to be adopted. And where you can make that difference is at itsmyturnnow.dhs.georgia.gov. And once again, thank you so much for the opportunity, and thank you so much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative. Before we move on to announcements, Representative Amadi Barnes, happy birthday! We wish you a happy birthday. Hope you've had a good day so far. Every day is a good day, right? No doubt. Happy birthday to you. We appreciate you. That completes our afternoon orders. We'll move on to announce Representative Carter. Representative Doreen Carter, recognized for an announcement.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning. So tomorrow's Thursday, February the 5th, and the American Heart Association's Advocacy Day, and they've asked us to wear red and to join them on the South Steps at 9:45 to take a group picture. And then on Friday, it's the official Go Red for Women, where the American Heart Association will celebrate their day of advocacy to educate women around heart disease. So we actually wear red again. And if you're still here, if you'd like to join us for the lunch, please let my office know. And my third announcement, members of the Georgia Legislative Black Caucus, as your vice chair, I get to make your announcement today. We will be meeting today at 3 o'clock in CLOB 310. It may not be lunch, but we'll definitely have some snacks. Thank you. I yield well.
Thank you. Leader Hughley, recognized for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To the House Democratic Caucus, we will be meeting in room 133 upon adjournment. Thank you. At the Capitol. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
At the Capitol, 133. Not downtown, at the Capitol. Thank you, Leader Hughley. Chairman Corbett's recognized for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Rural Caucus will be meeting in the Ag Building upon adjournment down off of Trinity Street. Y'all come join us. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Rural Caucus. Chair Lady Lynn Smith, recognized for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members of the House. Tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock, in room 606 CLOB, there will be a meeting of the House Natural Resource and Environment Committee, taking up two bills, House Bill 956, House Bill 983, and a presentation from Commissioner Walter Rabin of the Department of Natural Resources. Hope to see you then. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Smith. Representative Victor Anderson, Chairman Anderson is recognized for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Governmental Affairs Committee will meet this afternoon at 3 o'clock in 606 CLOB. Thank you.
Let me make an addendum to that, Mr. Chairman. I think this works for you. All committee meetings this afternoon need to be pushed back 30 minutes. Just this afternoon, not those in the morning, just this afternoon, be a 30-minute pushback on all committee meetings this afternoon. We're running a little bit over, so I have to give everyone's having lunch, like the Rural Caucus, like the leaders meeting. That will not impact them. Just committee meetings this afternoon, 30 minutes later. Chairman Scoggins, recognized for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Special rules will meet at 9 a.m. and 5:15 in the morning. Thank you.
Chairman Williams, recognized for an announcement. Chairman Noah Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Banks and Banking in the morning, 506 CLOB at 8 o'clock. 506 CLOB at 8 o'clock. Thank you.
Thank you. We have pages today. If you have a page, if you'll join your page down up front along with me, and we'll get to know each other and take a nice photo. That concludes our business for this day. The majority leader of this House is recognized for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that this House stand adjourned until Thursday, February 5th, 2026 at 10 o'clock a.m.
On the motion of Leader Estration that this House stand adjourned until 10 a.m. Thursday, February the 5th, 2026. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it clearly. This House stands adjourned. Thank you all for your attention today. It's a good day.